Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Batra, page 127b, starting from the last line on 127a. There's a story. It was saying, Shalchu le Bnei Akra D'Agmon Shmuel, Yilamdenu Rabbeinu Hayu Muchzakin Bazeh Shu Bechor Ve'amar Aviv Al Acher Bechorhu Mahu Shalach Lahu Kosvin Harasha. The residents of Akra de Agma sent the following inquiry to Shmuel: Teach us, our master. If the court had a presumption concerning his son, that he's a firstborn, and his father says concerning another son of his, he is his firstborn, what is the halacha? Shmuel sent to them in response, both of these sons write an authorization, and now we're on 127b, top of the page. Zelazeh, manashach, Karabanan svirle lishol lahu Karabanan Krav Yehuda sirle lishlach lahu Krav Yehuda. The Gemara questions this ruling. Whichever way you look at it, Shmuel's opinion is difficult. If he holds in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis with regard to this issue, he should have sent them a response in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis. And if he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, he should have sent them a response in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Shmuel's response is not in accordance with either Tannaitic opinion. The Gemara answers, he is uncertain whether the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda or in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis. Therefore, he sent them a response that incorporates both opinions. Mahi, Gemara explains, what is the dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis? Mahi, Aditanya Yakir Yakirenu Lacher. As it is taught in right, expounding the verse, he shall acknowledge the firstborn. Deuteronomy 21:17. The sages said he shall acknowledge him to others. In other words, a father is deemed credible to tell others that this is his firstborn. Mikan Amar Yehuda Nemar Adam Lomar Zeh Beni Bechor V'Hashem Shene'eman Adam Lomar Zeh Beni Bechor Kach Ne'eman Adam Lomar Zeh Ben Grusha V'Zeh Ben Chalutza V'Chachamim Omrim Eino Ne'eman. From here, Rabbi Yehuda says that the man is deemed credible to say, this is my firstborn son, even if he has sons presumed to be older. And just as a man is deemed credible to say, this is my firstborn son, so too a man who is a priest is deemed credible to say about his son, this is a son of a divorced woman, or this is a son of a Yavama who has performed chalitza, in which cases he is disqualified from the priesthood due to his flawed lineage. And the rabbis say he is not deemed credible. Amar le Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak l'Rava, Bish lo Rav Yehuda haniksiv Yakir el Rabbana and Yakir lamali. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said to Rava, granted, according to Rabbi Yehuda, this is the reason that it is written, he shall acknowledge. He derives from these words that a father is deemed credible to attest to the identity of his sons. But according to the rabbis, why do we need the term he shall acknowledge? B'tzarech hekara. The Gemara answers, it is necessary for a case when he requires identification, meaning when there is no presumption as to the identity of the firstborn. In such a situation, the verse teaches that the father is deemed credible. The rabbis disagree with Rabbi Yehuda's opinion only in a case where another son is presumed to be firstborn. The The Gemara asks, according to rabbis, with regard to what halacha is it necessary for the verse to teach that the father's dedication of his firstborn is deemed credible? If it is in regard, okay, lo yehe ela acher ilu bai lemitzvah lematana mi lo yahiv le. So the Gemara asks, according to the rabbis, with regard to what halacha is it necessary for the verse to teach that a father's identification of his firstborn is deemed credible? If it is with regard to giving him a double portion, it is superfluous. Let the son be only like another person who's not an heir. If the father wants to give him a double portion of his estate as a gift, can he not give it to him? Since the father can give a double portion to the firstborn without having to testify that he is the firstborn, it cannot be that the verse is teaching us that he is deemed credible with regard to the halacha that a firstborn receives a double portion. Lo tzricha. The answer is no, it is necessary. It is necessary with regard to property that came into the father's possession afterward, after he testified that his son is his firstborn. He could have given him his property as a gift, as at the time of the testimony the property did not yet belong to him, and one cannot transfer ownership of an item that one does not own. Therefore, it is necessary for the verse to teach that the father's testimony is deemed credible, so that the son can receive a double portion of the father's future property as well. Rabbi Meir Damar Adam Makna Davar Shelo Bali Olam Yakir Lamali. And the Gemara asks, according to Rabbi Meir, who says that a person can transfer an entity that has not yet come into the world, which would mean that one can give away his property even before it comes into his possession. Why do I need the term "he shall acknowledge"? Keshehu goses. Okay. The Gemara answers, the term is necessary for a case where property came into the father's possession when he was a moribund, at which point he cannot transfer ownership of any property to others. It is with regard to such property that the verse states that he shall acknowledge, to teach that the son, who the father states is the firstborn, will receive a double portion even of that property. Tanarabanan hayu muchzakin bo shuhu bechor v'amar aviv alach shuhu bechor nemon hayu muchzakin bo she'eno bechor v'amar le bechorhu eno nemon. The sages taught in Bryson 7:3 that if the court had a presumption concerning a son that he is the firstborn, and his father said concerning another son that he is his firstborn, the father's statement is deemed credible. If the court had a presumption concerning a son that he is not a firstborn, and his father said that he is his firstborn, the father's statement is not deemed credible. Reisha Rabbi Yehuda the Sofer Rabbanon. The Gemara asserts that the two halachot of the Batra seem to contradict each other. It must be that the first clause represents the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and the latter clause represents the opinion of the rabbis. Amar Yochanan Amar Benihu, v'chazar Amar Avdihu, Eino Neman. Avdihu, v'chazar Amar Benihu, Neman. Rabbi Yochanan says, if one says about another, he is my son, and then says, he is my slave, the latter statement is not deemed credible. It cannot disqualify him from marrying a non-Jewish woman, or exclude him from his disobedience. Conversely, if he first says, he is my slave, and then he says, he's my son, the latter statement is deemed credible, as in his first statement he presumably was saying, he serves me as a slave does. V'chilufe abay hameches. No, v'chilufe abeis hameches. Haya over al beis hameches. Amar ben Yehu. V'chazer amar avdihu. Neman amar avdihu. V'chazer amar ben Yehu. Enu neman. Okay. And the opposite halacha applies to one at the tax house. If one is passing the customs house and says about a certain person, he is my son, and then later says, he is my slave, his latter statement is deemed credible, as he presumably says that the other is his son only to evade paying tax for possessing a slave. Conversely, if he says at the customs house, here's my slave, and then later says, here's my son, his later statement is not deemed credible, as one would not unnecessarily render himself liable to pay tax. Meisvei, hayu, shamshu, keben, ubav amar benihu, chazar ve'amar avdihu, eno neman, ay mishamshu eved, uba ve'amar avdihu, ve'chazar ve'amar benihu, eno neman. The Gemara raises an objection from a bride. If one was serving another person, like a son serves a father, and the person being served came and said, he is my son, and then he said, he is my slave, his latter statement is not deemed credible. Additionally, if one was serving another person like a slave and serves his master, and the one being served came and said, he is my slave, and then he said, he is my son, his latter statement is not deemed credible. This contradicts Rabbi Yochanan's statement that if he first says that he is his slave and then he says he is his son, the latter statement is deemed credible. Amar Nachman bar Yitzchak Hasam Dikarule Avda Meitzar Mea, my Meitzar Mea, Meitzar Avda Mea. Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak said there in Rabbi Yochanan's statement, it is a case where he presumed to be a slave because everyone calls him a slave, or with whose border are 100. Okay? Since everyone is referring to him in this manner, the person he served cannot call into question his status as a slave by saying that he is his son. The Gemara asks, what does it mean that on his border are 100? The Gemara answers 100 dinars are adjacent to Metzar, this slave. In other words, he is worth 100 dinars. Shalach le Rabba David Yosef Parchama Omer lechaveru avdin genavta. Lo genafti mativu etzlacha ata mecharta. Rabbi Abba sent several rulings from Eretz Yisrael to Yosef Bar Chama, including the following: in the case of one who says to another, "You stole my slave," and he says in response, "I did not steal him." When the first inquires, so what is the nature of this presence of what is the nature of his presence in your possession? The latter responds, you sold him to me. Each to the other.